I am in Tobyhanna, which is in the Poconos region of northern Pennsylvania. And this right here is a railroad station, the Tobyhanna Railroad Station, or at least it was. It's no longer in use. I believe it's now a historical museum dedicated to railroads. And that right there, any of you who saw my video on the Grenville Tower will recognize it's a very similar design. This railroad was originally constructed by the Delaware Lackawanna and Western Railroad, the same people who constructed the Lackawanna Cutoff and the Grenville Tower. So the designs of those two towers are the same. I'll actually leave a link to that video above. And the tower in Grenville was a switching tower used to control the switching onto and off of a set of sides at the area. I'm not completely sure what this tower was used for. I'll have to look it up when I get home. But this station here, as I said, it was the Tobyhanna Station, and the station would have been a stop on trains such as the Lackawanna Limited and the Poconos Express, which went through these areas. I'm really liking the green and red design of the station. Looks like it's freshly painted, and I'm not sure if you can see with the sun, but that right there's windows, really interesting looking as well. So there's a flag. I'm not sure what this says. Oh, so this is the name of the township. It says Kulaba Township, and then 1704 is probably when it was established. But there, I guess that would have been the waiting room. And there's a nice little garden over there. I'm going to take a look at the tower in a second. Also of interesting note is that over there behind the bushes is, in fact, you can even see some trains there. That behind the bushes is a propane business, which is actually serviced by this railroad. So this railroad's still active. It's actually owned, I believe it went through the hands of, well, first of all, the area Lackawanna, and then it may have gone through the hands of Conrail, but it ended up getting acquired by a state organization, the Eastern Pennsylvania Railroad Association, and it's now operated by the Delaware and Lackawanna Railroad, which is a short line that runs through this area. And I assume those are cars that belong to it that would be associated with this propane business. And there's a couple of other businesses located on this line as well. This line was actually really good for the region, and it brought a bunch of businesses back. For example, there's a grain mill that's located in the Poconos that was built along this railroad, and actually uses this railroad to haul in and out, or to haul in cars of grain. And it services the entire region, including New York City. But back to the station. So yeah, it's now National Railway Historic Society and the Pocono Mountains chapter. So please watch your hat and coat. And of course this is locked, but let's see. Probably going to go down the other end of it and take some pictures down there, because the sun's going to make this impossible to see. So now I'm down the other end. This is on the street side, so the side opposite the tracks. And there's looks like there's a grill. There's this right here, which would have been a baggage room. There's some propane tanks. There isn't really too much of interest on this side. I'm going to go over to the other side, the side with the tracks on it. So this is the side with the tracks on it. And one other thing to note is, if they do decide to go through with the plan to reactivate the cutoff, there's talk that the New Jersey Transit would go all the way as far out as here, which tells you how far-reaching that project actually would be. I don't know if it's actually going to go through. I actually talked to one of the volunteers who worked here, and he said he hears a lot of talk about it, but he doesn't believe it's actually going to go through, and questions whether it's a good use of taxpayer money. But yeah, to actually get a full shot of the station. So this is the station from the downtrack side. And let's just see what's in the window. Really is nice that they kept up this building. This looks like it's just used for storage. So there's some, looks like railroad supplies and stuff of that nature. But yeah, it is nice that they kept this building up and painted it. I don't know if this would have been the original colors, but this color green seems to be associated with the Delaware Lackawanna and Western, so it's possible. So this is the baggage room again. And now I'm gonna go take a look at the tower. And this tower looks like it's at least kept up. The windows are in place, and there's a door in place, which compared to the Grenville Tower, which is left to the vandals to scrawl all sorts of graffiti on. So this would be the tower, the Tobyhanna Tower, and I see that sign over there says TOBY, so I wonder if that's the call sign of this tower. I don't know, I'd have to look it up. But just looking over here, here's the station from the front, and the train on the side, and the propane yard there. Just looking at this tower, the door's boarded shut and locked, so obviously you can't get into it, which is best because it keeps the vandals out. Let's see, look in the window. Yeah, there's a stop sign and some looks like spares for the railroad crossing. So there's a railroad crossing right here in front of the station. That would be spare bars for that and all sorts of other stuff that's being stored in there. And just going around the sides of the tower, windows have been boarded up. Even well, some of the top windows are even still glass, so the glass is intact, and the tower's in pretty good shape. I wonder, I know the one in Grenville went out of action very early. Was taken out of action very early when they modernized it. I don't know if this tower actually survived much longer. So maybe it lasted longer, was in service longer, and that's why it's in better condition. So just another picture of the tower with the sunset in the background. I always like with the Grenville Tower, it does have a chimney on one side of it. And I thought, when I went through the Grenville Tower, I thought that the chimney was for a stove or something, so I should go back in and look to see if there's a stove. But this is the railroad. So originally the Delaware Lackawanna and Western Railroad, now owned by the Northeastern New Jersey Railroad Association and operated by the Delaware Lackawanna Short Line, which is a different railroad than the Delaware Lackawanna and Western, but they obviously were inspired by that railroad when they named this thing. And you can see on the right there's actually the remains of an original track. So this used to be double tracked, And they probably, what I believe they did was when Delaware Lackawanna, oh, there's a cat over there. Not sure if you can see it, yeah. But when the Delaware Lackawanna and Western merged with the Erie, they single-tracked a lot of their lines in preparation for the reduction in traffic. And what they probably did was they probably kept the line on the right. Well, they kept one of the lines and left the other one. So probably the one that's still in use, the one on the left was the one they kept, and the one on the right they removed. And actually when railroads are in financial trouble and about to go in risk of going bankrupt, one of the first things they do is they remove some of their track or abandon some of their track. So some of their double lines they reduce to single lines to reduce the maintenance cost, and that's probably what happened here. So there's the sign Toby, which would probably be short for Tobyhanna. And there's the station back there. And there's the cat. So just one more view of the track. This is obviously looking westward in the direction of the sunset. And this is looking eastward. I believe this is the direction that would take us to the, well, ultimately to the Delaware Water Gap. And I believe this railroad still runs close to that water gap, but not all the way to there. And I'm not really sure. I believe they mentioned that it ran to Scranton, so I'm not really sure the entirety of this Delaware Lackawanna railroads, how much it actually covers and how extensive these tracks are. But the people working here did say one advantage this railroad had over larger railroads like Norfolk and Southern is it actually gave a more direct route from places like Canada into this region of Pennsylvania, because if they used Norfolk and Southern to get to this region, they'd have to go all the way south to Allensburg and then up north. And that makes you think that if they did complete the line to New York, this would be a complete shortcut, because I know that Norfolk Southern's usual line to New York actually goes through Allensburg and then takes the Lehigh Valley's old route through New Jersey and to New York. So this would, if they did reactivate the cutoff, it would save some time and some energy by giving them a more direct route to New York City from this northern Pennsylvania area. And one last thing of interest is this railroad switch here. So this used to be a piece of Y track where I believe there was a line that branched out from here at the station, but now they've just built up that propane plant and they take advantage of this Y track to switch trains into and out of the propane yard. So that would be how they take freight to service the propane yard.